Hey, thanks for watching. This is Webb. And in your fast track to CPO, if you're thinking about scaling product teams, my next guest is going to be really, really interesting. So Thor Mitchell is a brilliant guy who works at Miro, and he's had loads and loads of experience at this. So I really hope you enjoy watching. It's a short clip, and let me know what you think. Bye for now.
I think one of the things that I have that's become very clear to me is for the last few years I was at Google, I was managing a small team. Obviously at Crowdcube, I was managing a couple of teams, both product and design towards the end. But again, they were relatively small teams. There were a handful of people. The nature of Crowdcube's business is that it's not going to sort of be a hockey stick because it's in the business of funding startups. So one of the experiences that was new to me at Miro was the experience of managing managers. So leading teams of teams. And people talk a lot about how the transition from IC, from individual contributor to manager, is a tough transition because suddenly you're no longer sort of directly hands-on with the product. Instead, you're managing people who are sort of doing the day-to-day product management. But actually, I think, and this was a point that was made actually by Miro's chief revenue officer Xenia in a sort of internal Q&A we did that really resonated with me. He said that actually the transition from first level manager to second level manager is just as hard, if not harder. And the reason I think for that is that although it's true that when you're a first level manager, you are no longer hands-on with the work yourself, you're close enough to the work to be able to keep your head around everything that's going on. Like you will have a set of reports, you'll meet with each of them, weekly in one-on-ones and so on. And you'll know precisely what their teams are working on and what their status is. It's fairly feasible to keep track of all that. When you get to second line manager and you're managing people who are managing people, it's just not possible to do that. Right? You really, really have to let go. They talk about how hard it is to let go of doing the work, but it becomes much more important. In fact, essential to do that when you're a second level manager. It's just not feasible, both from a bandwidth and also kind of just communication perspective, to be in the details of everything that your team is doing. And so you really need to trust the people that you have on your team. You have to build a team who you can trust and who you feel comfortable delegating, truly delegating important decisions to, and sort of accept and embrace the reality that you can't be on top of everything that's going on. And so that, to my mind, really changes the calculus a little bit when you're hiring, and it really reinforces the importance of driving a positive culture through the team where there's strong trust throughout the organization, and you have a set of people who are equipped to make good decisions, but are also comfortable or able to identify cases where they do need to raise things up to you and get your support and help. And similarly, you also need to be much more attuned to the performance of the team, so you can recognize when things are going wrong, deep in the structure of the organization, and step in where you need to. And that is not easy. It takes practice, and I certainly wouldn't claim to be an expert at it. It's something I'm still very much learning how to do. But I think that was sort of a key learning point for me, a key transition into that role where you really, really have to be willing to truly let go. And your role is therefore not necessarily to sort of drive the details of the strategy yourself. It's to build a team that is highly equipped to do that. And so much of it then becomes about team building and about people development and about culture. And that's one of the reasons why that's something I tend to find myself talking about a lot. And it's because it really does become the difference between sort of succeeding and failing at that point.